Welcome, guys. Today we're going to talk about the movie Rampage, which was released in 2018. In this film, we have the legendary Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who justifies this movie with his larger-than-life persona. This movie is a perfect blend of science fiction and action, packed with explosive moments. Let's dive into the story. The story begins with Project Rampage, where we're introduced to a satellite drifting in space, carrying the remains of people, and there's only one scientist left alive on it. She's desperately trying to communicate with Earth, begging for help. She's instructed that if she wants to save herself, she must retrieve some experimental samples from the lab. If she doesn't, she's doomed to perish with the others. Inside the satellite's lab, the scientist tries to retrieve the samples but is interrupted by alarms. She manages to grab 3 vials containing the tested samples. Just as she attempts to escape, her escape pod is struck by a blast, and the samples fall to Earth. One lands in a zoo, where a gorilla named George inhales it. The second falls into a forest, where a wolf inhales it. The third crashes into a river, where it's inhaled by a crocodile. The next part of the story shows Davis Okoye, played by Dwayne Johnson, who works as an animal caretaker at a zoo. He's particularly close to George, an albino gorilla who was once the last of his species. George is unique because he can communicate with sign language and is extremely intelligent. Davis cares for him deeply, and they share a strong bond. One day, Davis learns that George has attacked a bear. When Davis investigates, he realizes that George has grown significantly in size and is acting strangely. George admits that he attacked the bear because it had attacked him first. Upon further inspection, Davis realizes that George's behavior is due to the experimental sample he inhaled. Davis is soon called to a forest where one of the other samples has been found. There, they meet Dr. Kate Caldwell, who reveals that she worked for the energy company, Energyne, and was responsible for the genetic experiments involving DNA splicing. The samples were supposed to be safe but have caused uncontrollable mutations in the animals exposed to them. As George grows increasingly dangerous, Davis and Dr. Kate team up to find a solution. Meanwhile, the Energyne company is in damage control, and its owners, Claire and Brett, send their security forces to recover the mutated animals. The wolf, now larger and more aggressive, goes on a killing spree in the forest. At the same time, George, also becoming more aggressive, breaks free from his enclosure. Davis and Dr. Kate are forced to confront the aftermath of these experiments. They realize that the mutated animals George, the wolf, and a massive crocodile are being drawn toward the city, and they must stop them before the situation escalates into a catastrophe. As the animals wreak havoc in the city, Davis and Dr. Kate fight to stop them. Their only hope lies in using an antidote that could reverse the mutation's effects. To do this, they infiltrate Energyne's headquarters, where they face off against Claire, who is willing to do anything to cover up her company's mistakes. The final showdown is intense, with Davis and Dr. Kate battling not only the mutated creatures but also the corrupt corporation trying to exploit their dangerous experiments. In the end, after a series of high-octane action sequences, Davis manages to inject George with the antidote, saving him and the city. The wolf and the crocodile are also stopped. However, the aftermath of Energyne's experiments leaves behind a grim reality, showing the consequences of unethical scientific practices. That's the gist of Rampage, a thrilling action-packed film filled with monster mayhem and a good dose of heart. The movie may be wild and over the top, but it's a fun ride, especially with The Rock leading the charge. Let me know what you think about the movie and feel free to share your thoughts in the comments.